Just keep going backwards. Just keep reversing. Not too far. Oh Christ, I don't know. I gave up shooting film like 5 years ago now. I just couldn't afford it. The amount of pictures I take, it just didn't make sense. It's a bummer, but it just didn't make sense. So I was pretty excited when Fujifilm reached out and said, would you like to take our new X1/2 for a spin? Because it seems like a camera that's designed purely with film photography in mind, but it's digital. It's bloody digital. There's a plane going right over my head. I'm just gonna keep talking. This camera was exciting to me, not only because it tries to harness that film-like experience, but also just, I think it's cool that a camera manufacturer are taking risks with design. They're making something that maybe doesn't have the best specs, the most megapixels. They're making a camera that's purely about the experience of shooting it. And that seems to be what the X1/2 is literally all about. It has a film rewind lever and it doesn't have any film in it. It's just fun. I've been handing this over to my son, handing this over to my wife, and just carrying it with me everywhere, taking little snapshots of daily life, taking less serious photos, taking myself less seriously, taking photography less seriously, and just enjoying the process of it. Because this camera is it's just meant for fun. It's meant for a fun little tool you can have with you and document your life with it and experiment with some fun little creative features. How many times am I going to say fun? Another plane. Wow, look at the size of that. How does this camera feel in the hand? I mean, for starters, it's obviously very, very small. It very easily fits in a jacket pocket or a coat pocket. It weighs about 240 grams, so less than a bar of chocolate. That's how I weigh things or compare the weight of things. The focal length, it says 10.8 mil, but this is a 1-inch sensor, so I think it's about a 30 mil equivalent. f2.8 lens. Very much the sort of ideal snapshot focal length, in my opinion. Got a lovely little aperture ring with a little nub on the side, exposure compensation dial on the top, film rewind lever, which I'll get into soon. And then the screen on the back is actually portrait. The default orientation for this camera is portrait, which takes a bit of getting used to, but then once you do, it becomes very instinctive. So let's talk about all the features and everything you can do with this camera, because there is quite a lot. The big thing is it actually has a film camera mode. So you can activate film camera mode, which makes the camera OVF only. There's no live view. And for every shot you take, you have to wind on the lever. It makes it very nostalgic. It adds a sort of intentional moment between taking the shots. And the camera also has an app in which you can sort of develop your image afterwards. It gives you that film experience. You literally cannot look at the pictures you've taken until you've finished your digital roll, as it were. It just locks it down. It's just a very cool and very fun implementation. You don't have to shoot in this way, but it can be fun to set it to film camera mode, head out the door, and just treat this like a film-like experience. If you don't want to use film camera mode, you treat it as a digital point and shoot. And it has access to loads of the Fujifilm film simulations. My favourites are Astia and Nostalgic Neg, and occasionally Acros. And on top of that, you also have these quite interesting creative filters you can put on the top. You can add a light leak, so the camera will just randomly assign and bake in a light leak onto your photos. This probably triggers some people, but I actually really like this feature. I just think it's just fun. It's just like, I don't know. It's fun to just take a photo and see the randomly assigned light leak you get. The halation feature is also really cool. I haven't yet tried this at night, but I think it'd be really nice. You can set it to various expired film modes, a mirror mode. And the big thing is the 2-in-1 function. So you can take one photo, wind the lever, and you can take another photo, and it stitches them together in this sort of half frame, but single frame 3x2 image. And you can create these little diptychs, and I've found it quite tricky to think in this way, but I'm excited to try this out more because it's never something I've really thought about or done before. But there's just so many little creative features in this camera which make it a really fun experience every time you go out, because you can treat this camera in a different way, or you can just treat it as a very basic point and shoot, use your favorite film simulation and just crack on. You can also include a couple of grain settings if you want to have some stronger or weaker grain baked into your image. I think I prefer the look without, but it does make it that extra bit more film-like, you know? It generally invites you to be creative without any pressure, which I really like. Who's this camera for? It's obviously not a pro camera. It's never going to be for professionals. However, I am a professional photographer and I'm probably going to buy one when it comes out. I like that it's just so compact, not serious, light. Literally fit it in my jeans pocket and just take little snapshots. Not every picture has to be a 100 megabyte raw file. It's a great choice for street photographers who just want a fun, like frictionless shooting experience. Really casual shooters who just want something stylish and simple. Former film shooters who miss the experience of shooting film and, like me, can't afford to do it anymore. And anyone just wanting something playful and different. I know my wife is very excited about this camera. Myself, I'm very conscious of taking pictures on my phone and then getting distracted by notifications or emails. It's nice to have a dedicated camera just for taking stills, separate to your phone. So the Fujifilm X half is not about specs. I actually don't know how many megapixels this camera has, and it really doesn't matter. Looking at the files, they've got plenty of detail. I'm sure you could print them pretty big if you wanted to. I'm excited to just have this in my camera bag. It's so light that it's just not going to be any kind of inconvenience. It's the only digital camera I've had so far that I can easily hand over to my 2-year-old and he can quite instinctively take photos with it, and it's easy for him to hold and the proportions are nice. But it's also easy to use for someone like me with massive hands. I don't know what else to say other than this camera is fun. The portrait native aspect ratio is kind of tricky to get used to, but 2 or 3 shots in and it clicks.
So if you'd like to chat with me a little bit more about gear, a really good place to do that is on our private Discord. You may have seen that we actually don't have any sponsors on this channel, and that's because Framelines is entirely supported by our community. We have a really great community of enthusiastic street and documentary photographers who support us on Patreon. And if you are a Patreon, you get access to our private Discord, you get access to our monthly street assignments, you get a permanent discount on future issues of Framelines magazine, and you can also join our in-person meetups, and we have one coming up in June. It's going to be really fun. We normally end up down the pub, looking at photos, having a couple of drinks. So if you want to check out more, head to the link in the description and join the Framelines community. Massive thank you for anybody who's watched this much of the video. It's a fun little camera. If you're in the market for something that's not entirely serious, I recommend checking out the Fujifilm X half. Any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and all that. See you next time.